Don't Tread on Us, Part 2 of 2. As a mutt descendant of Vikings, I do better in the cold than I do in the heat. And as I'd been a year-round cyclist for 38 years, I had and have proper gear to keep me warm way down in negative temperature territory. Negative centigrade, that is. And early in December, I began alternating between two possible routes to work for the first fourth of my commute. Route A took me through the Wimbledon subdivision, a neighborhood established towards the end of the 20th century. Wimbledon is roughly 10 times the size of my neighborhood and roughly a score of years older. It is well maintained, features two lovely retention ponds, a paved trail through the woods, tennis courts, a small playground, and a private pool. Route B took me through the MacGregor Downs neighborhood. The MacGD is older than Wimbledon. The majority of the sprawling neighborhood is decidedly more upscale. MacGD doesn't have well-maintained retention ponds. It has the aforementioned private lake. It has a country club, an 18-hole golf course, private tennis, and pickleball courts, and it was, according to a recent tour and lecture about Cary's history that Durga and I took the middle of August, established with the goal of providing big, beautiful, expensive homes for the Cary elite, a goal that is certainly fulfilled via the largest of the MacGD homes. January and February of 2018, I tried a few minor variations in my cycle commute route, but well before the vernal equinox, I'd settled on cycling the first few miles of my ride to work through MacGregor Downs. As mentioned, I began cycling for transportation in 1980, and from 1980 through 2024, I cycle commuted a total of roughly 220,000 miles, or 322,000 kilometers. Additionally, I've taken effective safe cycling classes. I've had advanced driver's training, passed the Motorcycle Safety Foundation's beginner class, and also have my motorcycle license. And just to top it off, my daddy, Dr. Francis C. Kennel, developed the driving and motorcycle classes that I took. I am extremely well schooled on the ins and outs of proper driving and riding, and am also a fairly rigid rule follower when operating a vehicle on public streets. Thus, I was a little concerned when I had a driver tailgating me with his car as I rode up a steep section of Queens Ferry Road in February of 2018. Riding along, I kept glancing in my mirror and looking at him over my shoulder as he followed closely behind me, urging him to pass by waving my left arm. If tailgating me wasn't enough, the next thing he did was pull up next to me, roll down his passenger side window and holler, "I'm not your enemy, I'm your friend," to which I smiled and waved him on. Rather than passing me, he continued riding next to me and again shouted, "I'm not your enemy, I'm your friend." Feeling vulnerable and violated, I took the next available right turn and watched him in my rear view to see if he would veer from his course and come tell me once again that he was my friend, but he did not. That was my initial run-in with one of MacGregor's lifestyles of the rich and fatuous residents, but not quite the most bizarre and brazen. No, the winner, so far, of rich white baby boomer males displaying outrageous degrees of entitlement in MacGD occurred in October of 24 with a confrontation that I call either the 7-year-old driver or the "'cause you're an asshole" incident. The CYAA title stems from the fact that I channeled my inner Dennis Leary and shouted, "'Cause you're an asshole" at the daddy in the passenger seat of a golf cart that his son was driving on a public street. I had seen Junior driving the golf cart a few times previously and had refrained from saying anything about the illegality of what he was doing. On one memorable occasion, Junior was driving while Daddy, Mommy, Grandpapa, and Grandmama were passengers, but in the fall of 24, it was just Dad and son. When we first crossed paths that October day, they were driving south on MacGregor's Bordeaux Lane while my wife and I were heading north. Seeing Junior at the wheel, I hollered, "Hey! You have to have a learner's permit to drive or driver's license to drive a golf cart on public streets in North Carolina." Unsurprisingly, Al answered, "Very, Junior," and Daddy, you kept going south while we continued to the northern limit of Bordeaux where we turned around. Heading south on Bordeaux, we again met the golf course where Gauvin tees into Bordeaux, and Junior was still behind the wheel, happily motoring up and down the public street. Seeing Junior in the driver's seat, I injudiciously chose to alter Larry's song lyrics from "I'm an asshole" to "You're an asshole," which I loudly sang to Daddy as we cycled by. My lyrical greeting may have affected Dad a wee bit. Durga and I continued on our downhill way as Dad screamed at us. Watching them in my rearview mirror, I saw Junior pull over. Dad swapped seats with his single-digit progeny and take off in hot pursuit of me and my gal. Dad is literally chasing us down the street in the golf cart while yelling obscenities of his own. Fate had us on a section of Bordeaux that provided a long descent as we headed towards Chalon Drive. Durga and I continued cycling without responding to his infuriated comments, an inaction which further enraged him. Reaching Chalon meant that our gravity-assisted downhill had come to an end, so Dad was able to catch up with us. A full minute had passed since Dad had begun his pursuit, but during that time, Dad had lost none of his fury. In his outrage, he pulled up next to us and screamed his case. The case being that the golf cart and the neighborhood provided single-digit years old Junior with a safe place to learn to drive, and that me, really, as I was the one who had sung the A word at him, had no right to use obscenities in his son's presence. Dad's declarative diatribe convinced me to break my silence. Continuing to ride single file while keeping our eyes on the road, I asked Daddy, a safe place to drive? Safe for who? For him! There's not many cars, we're going slow, and I'm right here instructing him. And how is that safe for the rest of us? Safe for my wife and me? I'm right here! I said calmly, so I should start target shooting in my backyard, right? I mean, I'd be far less likely to get shot by a stray bullet or have someone who goes crazy on the range and just starts shooting at people hit me, right? I'm not sure which was better. The eureka look of understanding concerning the incredible selfishness of Dad's actions, or the heavenly silence that replaced his diatribe. Dad took his foot off the accelerator, and Durga and I continued on our bike ride towards Lake Pine Drive. Though I've continued to ride in and through MacGregor Downs, and my routine normally includes heading to the northern extreme of Bordeaux Lane, I've not again spied the child at the wheel. I'm certain that Daddy Me lives just off Bordeaux on either Christophe or Corsica, but without that kid in a golf cart, I really can't say where he lives. I just wish him well, and hope he understands that "Don't Tread on Me" should really read "Don't Tread on Us."